All right, it's Roundup time, but it's Middle-earth Roundup. That is right. This is my favorite IP. Well, one of my favorite IPs. It's more than an IP, right? It's a world. J.R.R. Tolkien is a genius. The man wanted to create a world in which his language could live. The man created a language and then created a world where the people spoke the language. There is no other fantasy world like Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings, all that sort of stuff. It's just so different, so incredible. So, today we're taking a look at count them four.
You sure about that?
Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth, Tolkien games. Two of which are a little more lighter. Two of which I've already done full reviews for that I'm just going to link to, and we're going to talk about them and kind of just the impact of Lord of the Rings games. Now, let me just tell you, three of them are already done. So this is 5 total. One of them that I haven't played yet, two of them I haven't played yet. One is an older game that you are going to beat me up for not playing. I understand that. It's War of the Ring.
How dare you?
The problem is, it's 2 players and I don't have it. So hard for me to play a 2-player game like that at a con. So one of these days I'm going to get War of the Ring, maybe with Bonacor. And then the second is Lord of the Rings, Fate of the Fellowship. Now, of course, I'm going to play that. That looks incredible, right? It looks like what it should be, right? But let's take a look right now at several games. We're going to start with the 2 that I shot some brief overviews for, kind of show you how to play them roughly. I'm not teaching you a full teach. These are kind of quicker games anyway. We're going to go back in time a little bit. That's right, to the Lord of the Rings game by Reiner Knizia. Not There and Back Again, but the Lord of the Rings. So here's how you quickly overview play this game. All right, here is a brief overview, a very old game. This is J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings by Reiner Knizia. That's right. Not a game designer known for his thematic elements, but we have some fantastic old school looking art. Very 1970s art for this. Now the game is not that old, but just really good looking stuff here of all the different things. Look at the Black Rider. Black Riders!
He's Jesus precious.
What's he saying? The seed is strong. That's different. That's different. That only counts as one. Let's see who else we got here. That only counts as one. I can't do it. I don't think I have an Aragorn. I do have, get to Gandalf, if we can find Gandalf.
No.
Not all who wander are lost, Frodo. Of course, Charles. That's so. And then look at that, Shadowfax, Arwen. Look at that. Down, down, dream of you. The sweetest dream I'll never do. I'll still miss you, babe. Get it? Because it's Steven Tyler's daughter. And anyway, that's. Hey, I never noticed that. He sang that song for that movie, and she was in that movie. Huh. Anyway, this is a roll and move. You're going to roll the dice, move across these paths. You're playing competitively, and then you'll essentially land on a spot, and you'll do this little spinny deal here on a spinner, and depending on how many it lands on, that's how many of these red cubes you remove. If you remove enough cubes, you take the little token with you. You get to Mount Doom over here, remove all the cubes from Sauron. It is Sauron, by the way. And then you win if you have the most of these little tokens. It's really ridiculously simple. Now, that's the basic game. The advanced game has what's known as the Dark Towers. There are these right here. And somebody will take the Palantir, and they will put it in the hand. You have to guess which hand the Palantir's in, then you start in one of the Dark Towers. It's a simple game, right? Art's cool. That's about all I got to say for it. And the components are nice. Now, I'm not a huge Reiner Knizia fan when it comes to all of his games. I like some of his games a lot. Actually, I like modern art or classic art a lot. I like San Francisco a lot. Other ones I'm fine with, right? However, this one is weird. It's almost like he threw his notebook open. You know, the legend is he's just got the notebook. They're like, no, we don't like that game. He goes, okay, how about this game? And then they're like, yeah, sure. What theme do you want to put on it? And they were like, Lord of the Rings, let's do that. Because the theme doesn't matter. It especially doesn't matter because in what world are there multiple competing Hobbit teams trying to get to Mount Doom? There's one ring. That's why it's called the One Ring. And one fellowship. Now, there's the breaking of the fellowship, as we all know. Boromir, sadly, pouring out for him. They have a cave troll. Sean Bean, underrated actor. That's why I'm so excited about this new Anemone movie coming out with Daniel Day-Lewis, world's greatest actor, and Sean Bean, another fantastic actor. Anyway, it doesn't make sense. This game doesn't make a lot of sense. However, it's got some really cool art. It reminds me of that 1970s Ralph Bakshi, and then the other one, the one that was like the Ralph Bakshi art, but it was the Return of the King, not the Return of the King, the Lord of the Rings, right? Where Gollum's all like, "Oh, Master Frodo, I don't like this," you know. If you've seen the cartoon, you know what I'm talking about. It had the weird 2D, real people orcs kind of cut into the cartoon. Then you got the Ralph Bakshi ones, which are fantastic, where it's all like. Anyway, this art looks pretty good. The game itself, not a fan of. I'm probably never going to play this again. I got it for $4 at Play and Talk, and I was like, oh, I want that. But you may like this game. It's a roll and move. Tom just said we're having a roll and move resurgence. I don't know that this is one of them, right? This is an older game anyway. But roll and move with a split party in which you're trying to race to get cubes off of stuff to make it to Mount Doom. Not a lot of theme there, but that is Lord of the Rings by Reiner Knizia. Keeping with the theme of Reiner Knizia's Lord of the Rings, let's take a look at another one. I'm going to give you a super quick overview because there's actually more meat to this game than meets the eye. Basically, what's going to happen is meat's back on the menu, boys. You're going to essentially roll and route, is what I'm calling this. You're going to roll and write paths on your board to get dwarves back to Bilbo's house, to get Bag End. I don't know why that wasn't coming to me. I'm a huge Tolkien fan. I love Tolkien, but I don't know why Bag End didn't come to me when I was thinking of this review earlier. Anyway, getting him to Bag End. And then you kind of move on through the story with the trolls and stuff like that. And so it is an interesting game. Let's take a look at roughly how you play this game. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts on this game. All right, this is There and Back Again, The Hobbit, There and Back Again, designed by Dr. Reiner Knizia. If you know anything about this review video you're watching already, we already touched on another Reiner Knizia Lord of the Rings game. Now, this is an unexpected party. Notice one thing about this game, the art style is very interesting. It reminds me of, there was that little rabbit short film a few years ago, or Secret of the Kelts, I think. I can't remember what it's called. That's what this art style reminds me of. It's actually really cool art, especially for The Hobbit. Now, if this was going to be like The Lord of the Rings, I don't know that I would love the art for this, but The Hobbit is a children's story. As the 5-year-old, what was the review for The Hobbit? I think it said, this book is perfect for anyone who's 5 years old or younger. I believe was the original review of The Hobbit by a child. Try that now. Anyway, what we got here is we got bread, we got dwarfs, we got Thorin and Gandalf, Bilbo, and then you've got glory. Because as we all know, it's all about glory in The Hobbit. It is, adventure, all about that kind of stuff. Martin Freeman's in there and he's like, I'm here to have an adventure. My leg doesn't work and now it actually does. I don't need a cane, right? Deep cut reference. But you're going to roll the dice. You're going to draft back and forth the dice. You don't actually roll this one. You're going to draft back and forth on these dice. Now, these are paths. These are swords. These are bread. Swords are just kind of collectibles. You're going to collect them to get bonuses. And the bonuses you get, the points you get for having swords is right there. So the more swords you have, more points you have. See, 1 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and so on. The main thing you're going to be doing is trying to connect these dwarves to Bilbo's Hobbiton, his house that the Sackville Bagginses are trying to get their hands on, the greedy Sackville Baggins' hands. Now, how you do this is you're going to roll and draft. So it's almost like a roll and route. I don't know if that's an official name, but I'm naming it now. Essentially, starting from one of the dwarfs, you can draw a path. Now, it can be twisted. These aren't good examples because they're all straight, but you could also do this. So this is all flip-flopped. You could flip it the other direction, right? So like here we go. You can imagine drawing this path. You could actually rotate it 180 degrees that way, where you go up and then over one to the right instead of the left. You're going to draw these paths, getting them to the Hobbit. Now, a couple funky rules about, like, you can't draw through other dwarves. You have to have bread. So each dwarf that you connect has to have bread in order to score the maximal amount of points. Now, you can get just the dwarf points, but if you get the points for the bread too, you're going to get a lot more points. And when you connect them, you have to have the bread already collected already in order to score the most points for those dwarves. You can't retroactively do that. Thorin and Gandalf take 2 bread. I don't know why Thorin does, but Gandalf, he's bigger. He's a wizard and a starry, actually. So you're going to connect them by drawing paths, and then each mission or each part of the story will tell you how it ends. Now, that's just the basic version. As you go further into the story, there's a whole lot more that's going to start happening. Different things like trolls, dangerous spaces. You've got Overhill and Underhill, right? Goblin Town. Why in the world did we let Guillermo del Toro put a song that wasn't in the original? It could have been just the Ralph Bakshi, chip the glasses, crack the plates. That's a great version. Gollum, here we go.
It's not fair.
I don't remember what he says. Something about that's not fair.
What's in my pocket?
That's not his riddle. But Reels in the Dark, you play differently as well. The points and the numbers add up differently here. And then you keep going all the way through the entire story of The Hobbit. So each one of these missions plays completely different until you fight Smaug, not Smog, Smaug. And so you're still going to have bread. You're going to have it to move. All the stuff that you would have based on the original mechanics of the earlier ones are now put into this position where you're fighting Smaug. If the number rolled on the black dice filled on those house, and the house filled in on Smaug instead. So you're trying to save the houses from burning down in Lake Town. And we all know that, what's the actor's name? Shoot, I can't think of the actor's name. But anyway, he was in that other movie, The Girl on the Train. Shoots Smaug just in that one space where he's got a chink in his armor. And that is how you play The Hobbit there and back again. It is a roll and move, it is a roll and route, roll and write. Essentially, you're collecting bread, swords, and pieces. You're working it through more difficult things in the missions, but essentially roll and write with a lot of depth to it. It says 30 minutes because that's roughly what you're going to play each time you play the mission. So yes, it's a story, but it's not like a scenario-based thing where you have to play in order, but it is pretty nice looking art. All right, that is There and Back Again. Now, first and foremost, the art is interesting. Like, it does remind me of some other kind of like newer, independent, award-winning shorts and feature films recently. So I think it looks really interesting. Again, I would not like to see this art style done for the whole Lord of the Rings. Certainly not the Silmarillion. Absolutely not. But I would love to see this art style done a little bit more in a sense of The Hobbit. It works, right? I like what you do in this game in the sense of like you play through the missions. I just don't love the notion of rolling to get those routes because sometimes you just get frustrated. You're like, I don't really have a good option, and I don't like being frustrated in a game like this, right? Where the theme is there. Actually, you somewhat like you're kind of abstracting out to where you're almost playing as the narrator versus playing as the hobbits or the dwarves or Bilbo or anything like Bilbo. Come here, Bilbo. Any of that kind of stuff, right? So all in all, it's a good roll and write because it does different things, right? It's not just like Seven Wonders where you, all right, mark that off. All right, mark that off. You actually have to think through what you're taking and route those routes. But is it the greatest roll and write? I don't think so. No, but I like what you do enough. But it's still kind of just out there enough for me to where it's like, yeah, it's kind of a Lord of the Rings or Middle Earth game, but not. I just don't get that feel from it because I feel like you could have done this with. Princess Bride, like even like those Ravensburger games where you play through the storybook, right? I just didn't get that feel from this. So that is There and Back Again. Coming up next, we have Heroes of the Shire. Wait a minute. That's a gun. This is not. Is this? Heroes of the Shire. Inspired by MMO. This is not Lord of the Rings based. Forget it. This one's out this time. Now, the next three we're going to talk about are ones that I've already done full reviews on, but I just want to talk about them in the pantheon, as it were, or in the cosmere, that's not the right word, in the world building of Tolkien. The first being another quick one, but it's abstracted, but it's perfection. That would be Seven Wonders Duel for Middle Earth, right? This game is incredible. Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. It's Seven Wonders Duel, Lord of the Rings. They literally slapped the theme on it, and they had Vincent Dutrait art, and it's phenomenal. If you haven't played this game, make sure you get your hands on a copy of this. It is just so stinking good. The art is beautiful. It's some of the best art in board gaming, obviously. Plus, it's one of the best two-player games of all time. And then it's just done so well where even the whole theme works. Like the blue cards doing stuff now, moving the path along, makes sense instead of just points. Red putting those things out there for the Mordor versus the men, and then it just works. To me, I think this is such a brilliant game. So if you haven't played Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth yet, 100% on the shelf. I think it's in my top 10. You'd have to go back and look and see what I get. I may not have done the top 100 before we played this, or after we played this, so you may have to check. But I love this game. So that is Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. Coming up next is a game that is considered to be one of the greatest card games of all time. That would be Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game. This is originally Fantasy Flight that I know of. Originally Fantasy Flight back in OG Fantasy Flight Living Card Games where you'd have the first edition. I played the mess out of this. There's very few games I play one player. This was one of them. I played the heck out of this game. difficult, hard, and exciting to play this living card game. And back then, when you played living card games, you would kind of almost do like a monthly pack. You'd play the first scenario, then a pack would come out, then a pack would come out, then a pack would come out, and you would literally build and play almost like a subscription. That model is not quite the same anymore, but there's a ton of content for the Lord of the Rings, the card game. And then you can see my review. I'm going to link all three of these to the actual video reviews in the comments or the description, so you can actually go and watch these, my full thoughts on this. But Lord of the Rings: The Living Card Game is one of the greatest card games of all time. It's just such a great game. It's so well thought out. The art is beautiful. It's just really fun. Like, it's slightly determined if it's combat with a mystery, so it's not super determined. It's like you have to think ahead and plan and go, okay, do I really want to put this person out there for a fight or to defend, or do I want to quest with them? It's almost a little like Lorcana borrowed a little bit from that in a much lighter way. So Lord of the Rings Living Card Game, let me know what you think about that in the comments below, because I love this game. And last but not least, we're taking a look at what could potentially be, well, it's one of my favorite genres of games. This would be the Fantasy Flight app-driven games. Now, the first one technically doesn't count. Well, it wasn't the first one. The first one's Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. Top 3 games for me, right? It's amazing. I wish we would get more content. Yes, I know you can third-party it, but Imperial Assault had it, right? But they added it on later. And then Journeys to Middle-earth came out. Now, here's why I love Journeys to Middle-earth. It does something that I like, based kind of like out of Gloomhaven and a couple other games, where your cards, you use them in multiple ways. You can use them for this use, or you can spend them as, successes towards a challenge. And to me, that's really great. Plus, what I like about Journeys to Middle-earth is because the stories of Middle-earth are so big and grandiose and maximally huge, to the point where there are, I think, exactly one throwaway references in all of Tolkien's works, or excuse me, in all his published works. I think there's exactly one reference that just doesn't have a correspondence in either the writings, the Lost Tales, Book of Unfinished Tales, or Silmarillion, or the appendices. I think that's it in the Lord of the Rings. There's one. I can't remember exactly what it is. My friend Clint Landry could tell me. But everything else, this is why Tolkien is so great. If he references something, he's written about it. Now, maybe he's written about it once or twice and changed it up a little bit, especially with like the First Age stuff, Second Age stuff. But for the most part, it's all kind of been shaped into this one fairly cohesive story, which is why you have trouble with things like Rings of Power. It's like, well, they don't actually have the rights to the Silmarillion, but they need to touch the Silmarillion, but they have the appendices, so they can kind of tweak and work towards it. Do I want a Silmarillion show one day? Yes, I want them to do it. I want to see the Ainulindale done just in beautiful, artistic, and maybe even like animated form. And then obviously follow it up with the Fall of Gondolin and all that sort of. I want this, right? So Tolkien's works are massive, but they're also personal, right? Not all who wander are lost, not all who wander are lost, right? You get these amazing quotes, right? So do all those who live in such times, whatever it is, like these amazing personal quotes that are so just philosophically, theologically rich quotes. That's why Tolkien's a great writer, right? But then you also have these massive battles. And so what Journeys in Middle-earth does so well with the app-driven combat and the app-driven storytelling is you have these kind of like bigger map stories, and then you have the smaller map stories where you're like in a fighting room, or you're on a map exploring. So Journeys in Middle-earth, it is one of the greatest kind of co-op games of all time. So let me know what your favorite Lord of the Rings game is, and if I definitely have to play War of the Ring, I want to, obviously, and Fate of the Fellowship. Let me know in the comments below what your Lord of the Rings favorites are, and we'll talk about it. Did you know, C.S. Lewis, Lord of the Rings, and J.R.R. Tolkien, good friends, great friends, love their works. So Tolkien, massive fan, always will be. Like Deep Dive, Tolkien Professor podcast listener here. Love all the history and the lore and all the things that are just so magical about Tolkien's work. So let me know what your favorite Tolkien game is in the comments below. I'm Bryan Drake. Follow me on Instagram at Dice Tower Bryan, and I will see you soon on the Dice Tower Cruise.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassel.